Okay, we're back again on this is part 4, and I want to kind of talk about ignition. Again, continuation talk about ignition. We're on a misfire hunt for why the car is misfiring. Right now, I got the. I want to talk about, at least on this thing, I want to look at ignition secondary with a COP wand. It's a Pico wand. I will hook it to the Uscope, set the time base, and we'll go down the line and just we'll touch each coil, and we'll take a look at our ignition secondary. I will also look at the triggering signal from the PCM to these coils. These coils have transistors in them. They are 3-wire coils, and the little 3 to 4 volt triggered signal is what comes from the PCM to initiate the spark. That's really important if you're chasing a misfire. Don't forget that one. That's a trigger signal from the PCM. That's got to be there, along with the coil ground. So be mindful of that. I will start the scope. I will get her in a decent time base. I'll hit lab scope, and 1 volt per division. Let's get some better time. 1 millisecond, and then here we go. We'll throw caution to the wind and get on a trigger signal. If I could find my leads. Okay, we're gonna go to an ignition trigger to number 1. This will be the number 1s. What it looks like, it's gonna be a square wave, kind of a. We have a scope trigger, and sometimes vernacular is a scope trigger and a trigger signal. So many times in this profession, there's so much ambiguity in the terminology. So it's just all over the place. But nonetheless, let's start the car, and we are looking for a triggered signal from the PCM, and our signal. Let's see. Is that we are not triggered on the scope. Okay, we're running. Whoa, hey, I got lucky for once. Okay, that's a pretty good looking trigger. You can see the top has sort of a plank. That actually mirrors the current ramp. You can see this guy right up here. That little, if I stretch that a little, you'd see that that mirrors a current ramp. That means the circuit from the PCM is going through that transistor to ground to trigger that transistor to actually trigger the coil. So let me kind of then we can get a better view of that, and I'll show you to know when you see a bad one. I'm having a meltdown. My bad. All right, we're still on the number 1 trigger, and I'll shut her off. Okay. Okay. I set the trigger. We're triggered, and basically you see this part right here. You can see that it angles upward. It shouldn't be really super flat. Nonetheless, that's a good indication. That's a good trigger from the PCM to the particular cylinder, particular coil. Obviously, it's a 1-channel scope. So let me get a. Okay, I got a trigger set there. Trigger on the trigger. So basically, you can see that right there. That's a good looking pattern. The voltage goes about 4 to 5 volts. 4 to 5 volts. Most of them look a lot alike. Be mindful of Nissan. I've seen Nissan have some issues with aftermarket coils. If you get a P1320, that's a pervasive code on Nissans, and I believe the PCM looks at this signal, and it may not like it, and it may throw a 1320, and the car may not have a misfire. It's just real particular about it, what it looks at, and aftermarket coils can cause that. So you got a Nissan that's giving you that annoying 1320 code. Take a look at the triggers for each of the take a 6-cylinder or 4-cylinder on a Nissan, because they have similar coils in it as it does this Honda. Okay, we're going to go to ignition secondary. Let me just do this on the run. I will put the cop wand on, keep it running, and we'll take a look at ignition secondary with a wand. Okay, we're going to look at ignition secondary. Moving on the run. These coils are heavily potted, so sometimes the COP wand doesn't do the best. Okay, let me get untriggered for auto. Okay, let me just play with this. I know I'm going to have to lower the voltage for the COP one because it's got a big attenuation. It's like 1,000 to 1. And then here we go, and I'll play with the. Okay, I got the COP wand. I'll show it to you. We're hooked to the scope. We got the safety ground on. Keep that to give you ground lead for your safety. You don't have any sparks flying, hitting your tools. That's what it looks like. Basically, that's the tool right there. This thing, wow. Okay, we got you can see it. I probably can do better on the trigger and the time. Bring that trigger down. See if I get some action to get a good one. There we go. Okay, that's our secondary. I probably pretty good looking blade from it. See the firing line. It's heavily potted coil, so at least we know something. We can see a firing line. We can see a breakout point. We can see a spark line, which is the burn time, and we can see some coil oscillations. I will move it off this coil, and it goes away. Well, it goes away because it's untriggered. Let me get the trigger. Okay, we're off. Back on the second coil. That's another coil. Looks good. I pull it away. Another coil looking good. Again, the gist of this video is we're looking for misfires, so we're looking for the odd man out. That is the ignition one, so I just went down the line. I'll come off one. You can see our burn time. We can see our firing line. Nothing odd there. You can't be also mindful that when I say misfires, they don't always happen at idle. So you may have to give it some load when you're diagnosing misfires. Just want to be mindful of that. That's the next coil down the line. Again, so we got 4 coils nothing looking really crazy as far as an odd man out. So okay, that was ignition. I guess that's part 4. I'll end it here and come back for a 5. Thanks.